What is going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Hope you're all doing very, very well. We are going to talk about Shadow Priest. This is the tier set bonus that I am absolutely the most excited for. I think it's going to be really, really awesome. There's lots of good tier set bonuses coming in 10.2, but this one to me, it just was like everything that I wanted out of a Shadow Priest tier set bonus. Before we get to the tier set bonus, though, let's look at the class changes that are coming to Shadow Priest in 10.2. There are some really important general priest changes that are coming that I just want to mention really quickly because everybody's going to be talking about them. A lot of people are dooming right now about like all the priest stuff that's going on. So Power Infusion got nerfed by 5% from 25% duration to on the haste buff to 20%, and then the duration from 20 seconds to 15. The duration is definitely a big slap for sure. 5 seconds off is quite a bit, right? But I don't think this is I don't think this is the end of the world. And I think people are sort of saying, oh my god, this is not even like a useful spell anymore. Like I've heard people just saying the dumbest stuff online. This is still really good. You're still giving 20% haste to somebody for 15 seconds. It's very, very good. It's a mini lust for somebody inside of their big DPS window. Still very good for lots of different classes. It synergizes really well, and of course you're giving it to yourself as well, which is really important. So yes, it's nerfed. Is it the end of the world? No. Is the sky falling? No. It's going to be fine. This is still a good buff to give to your friends. Okay, it's still, nobody else has PI except for Priest, so it's still really good. And Mass Dispel also got changed. It's now a 2-minute cooldown instead of a 45-second cooldown. I think this is obviously a big deal as well. There's still tons of other utility, though, that Priest has. They have Vampiric Embrace. They have Mind Soothe. They have a Dispel Magic that they can do a singular Dispel on an enemy, and they can still use Mass Dispel. You're just going to have to be a little bit more careful about when you use it now. You can't use it every single time a big stack of Bursting comes through on Bursting Week, right? So you have to be a little bit more careful with that stuff. I also think this is going to help to highlight a lot of the other class utility for other classes and other specs, right? Things like a Monk being able to use Diffuse Magic, or is that what it's called? Diffuse Magic? Reverse Harm, sorry. Where you can just send the debuffs back, the magic debuffs back to the enemies that gave them to you. Dwarf and Dark Iron Dwarf being able to remove magic on themselves as well. There's all kinds of different abilities in the game right now that are magic based that can get removed by lots of different classes, lots of different specs. Even Hunter can disengage out of like a root in the gauntlet portion of Brackenhide Hollow. When those trees are putting that magic root on you, you can just disengage out of that. So there are lots of ways for other classes and other specs to contribute meaningfully to the magic dispel portion of the game, and I think that it's okay that they're slapping Priest with this 2-minute Mass Dispel cooldown instead of 45 seconds. People, again, are saying that this is like the doom of Priest. I don't think it is. It's perfectly fine. They moved Improved Mass Dispel to a PvP talent and kind of put the power over there, which makes sense. It makes sense. In PvP, you want this to be a really powerful ability. In PvE, it's becoming a little bit too powerful. So I think these nerfs are fine. The sky is not falling. Things are fine. Don't freak out about this, okay? Shadow Word Death now also does a little bit more damage to the Priest, but it doesn't matter. They nerfed Tithe Evasion. It's not going to matter. Basically, Shadow Word Death's going to do a little bit more damage to you now. Don't worry about it. I promise you, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal, okay? Shadow Priest specifically, Shadow Cross damage is now reduced beyond 5 targets. That's, I would say, in direct response to the tier set bonus that's coming in a second. And then Surge of Insanity now triggers from every 3 casts of Devouring Plague instead of every cast of Devouring Plague. This is actually really good. So they say the rotation has a lot going on, and much of that is due to the frequency that Mind Flay Insanity and Mind Spike Insanity are available. This is very true. If you played Shadow Priest, it's pretty annoying to have every Devouring Plague trigger a Mind Flay Insanity or a Mind Spike Insanity. It's like you have so many other buttons you want to press in that moment. So they basically buffed Mind Flay Insanity, and Mind Spike Insanity. They buffed all 3 of those, and then they just reduced the amount that you get this proc on Surge of Insanity. So I think it's a really great change, because it means that your abilities are going to do lots of damage. So the damage is probably not changed at all. It just means that you have you're less GCD cramped. When Surge of Insanity finally does proc, you're going to get to use it. The rest of the time, you get to use your regular abilities. So those are all the major changes for Priest and for Shadow Priest. Let's get right into the tier set bonus, because this thing is awesome. I think this is such a great tier set bonus. I'm really excited about it. It's definitely a big divergence from where Shadow Priest has been in Season 1 and 2. So here's what it is. Shadow Word Death now triggers 2 additional times at 50% effectiveness. It'll also trigger a 3rd additional time at 50% effectiveness if Death Speaker is on the target or if the target is below 20% health. Sorry, if Death Speaker is on you. So this is really cool. This is... I love Death Speaker. If you guys have ever heard me talk about Shadow Priest, Death Speaker is like my favorite talent. I love doing a Shadow Word Death build. I love how it synergizes with Mindbender. This is really cool. And first and foremost, the absolute biggest thing we got to talk about is the synergy it's going to have with Mindbender and with Inescapable Torment. And yes, I will just tell you right out of the gates, the extra procs that you get on Shadow Word Death do trigger Inescapable Torment damage, and they trigger Inescapable Torment extension of Mindbender. It's really good, okay? So when you get those Shadow Word Deaths while your Mindbender is out, the extra Shadow Word Deaths will extend him, and he will do extra damage with Inescapable Torment. Let's move on to the 4-piece, okay? Each time you take damage from Shadow Word Death, gain a stack of Death's Torment, increasing the initial damage of your next Shadow Word Pain by 250% per stack, or increasing the damage of your next Shadow Crash by 50% per stack, stacking up to 12 times. So this is a 600% more damage on Shadow Crash once it gets to full stacks. And then it's like a 4,500, 4,800 more damage to your next Shadow Word Pain. Really quickly, this does seem to be bugged right now with Misery. You must manually cast Shadow Word Pain in order to get the bonus damage from it. That's just what I'm seeing right now. That's probably a bug. I'm sure they're going to fix that. But this is really cool. So while you're doing your regular rotation and you're casting Shadow Word Death as much as you possibly can, getting all those extra triggers, it's building up this big stack, this big buff on your next Shadow Crash for AoE or your next Shadow Word Pain for single target. So let's go see what this looks like. I want to try and test this on some dummies that are a little bit lower on HP. And I want to do that intentionally so that we can get a look at what this is going to feel like when you're in Mythic Plus and you're able to punch this onto a target that is in execute range. Because you'll get to cast this twice on a target that's in execute, which means you're going to get like 4 or 6 Shadow Word Deaths, depending on how it goes. So I also think this is going to really lean itself towards a Dark Ascension build because all of the extra procs of Shadow Word Death are not periodic damage. They are just regular damage, so they're going to be buffed by Dark Ascension, which is really, really great. And I think this also plays in really well to Idol of Yasarj, because remember, when you cast Mindbender, if you're healthy, you get a 5% damage buff to you and your Mindbender for as long as your Mindbender is active. And we're now going to be able to extend Mindbender a lot. So I think that you might get good value out of Idol of Yasarj. You might also get really good value out of Mastermind, increasing the critical strike chance of Shadow Word Death by 8% and increasing the critical strike damage of Shadow Word Death by 40%, and that's going to include those extra procs of Shadow Word Death that you're getting as well. So here's the build that I've kind of cooked up for now. Let's see how it kind of works. I'm just going to blast the dummies and kind of talk to you while I'm blasting them and walk you through my process. We're going to go Dark Ascension into Mindbender with Power Infusion into a Shadow Crash. So here we go. Power Infusion, Mindbender's out. Here comes the Shadow Crash. Here we go. Shadow Word Death. Shadow Word Death. There we go. See it proc multiple times. Watch when it goes multiple times. It's really, really cool. There's a Mind Flay. We're going to cleave our Devouring Plagues. There's my Surge of Insanity. Here comes my Shadow Word Death. Watch. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And it extended my Mindbender. My Mindbender's at 16 seconds still. Here's my Giga Charge Shadow Crash that got buffed from all of the Shadow Word Death. Here comes Shadow Word Death again. Watch my Mindbender. 8, 9, 10. Here it comes. 8, and then it goes 8, 9, 10. 11 seconds on the Mindbender. He's still out. He's been out this entire time. And we've had the 5% damage bonus from Idol of Yasarj this entire time. Here comes Shadow Word Death again. Boom, boom, boom. Extending my Mindbender one last time. Boom, boom, boom. Another big Shadow Crash getting the buff and getting extra. My Mindbender is down, but he's right around the corner. He's only 10 seconds away. We literally had Mindbender up for like 50 seconds there, okay? Which is insane. I absolutely love this new build. It is so much fun. Here comes our combo again. Dark Ascension into Mindbender, right into Shadow Word Death. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. There's all the damage triggering right there into a huge Shadow Crash. That's going to do extra damage. You can see the buff that we're stacking up on the top part of our bar there. I'll show you in a second. Here comes Shadow Word Death. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. It's stacking up right here. So you can see 8 stacks of this buff, increasing the damage of my Shadow Crash or my next Shadow Word Pain by a lot. I'm going to do Shadow Crash again, and then we're going to do Shadow Word Death. I'm going to show you the damage to Shadow Word Pain now. So we're just going to keep going for a little bit. You can see I'm doing like 250 to 300k sustained damage. I'm not going to Shadow Crash here. I'm going to try and get this buff fully stacked up, and I'm going to show you a Shadow Word Pain. Okay, Shadow Word Pain, it does 3,000 more damage. Look how much damage this does. The upfront damage of Shadow Word Pain is 122,000 right now. There's my Shadow Word Pain right there. 122,000, and then it ticks over as well. So I really love this. It's very simple in its design, but I think it's elegant, and I think it really lends itself to a build that focuses on Dark Ascension, which is really fun. That's just awesome because we love Dark Ascension. Dark Ascension into a lot of Mindbender damage into, I think my damage is still gone. I'm trying to find the damage that I was, there we go. So it's going to focus really, I think, a lot on the upfront damage from Dark Ascension, going into those Shadow Word Deaths that do crazy damage. They're going to proc your Inescapable Torment multiple times. You're going to be able to keep your Mindbender up, at least in AoE situations. I think you're going to be able to keep your Mindbender up for an incredibly long time, probably 30, 40, maybe 50 seconds. If you're playing really, really well. Here's the damage overall. You can see Mindbender, Inescapable Torment are doing massive amounts of damage here because we're getting so many procs on our Shadow Word Death. And there it is, Shadow Word Death doing lots of damage. And it's also funneling all of that extra damage into Psychic Link, which is so cool, right? Our direct damage spells, which is Shadow Word Death, deal 15% of their damage to all other targets. So you're getting that splash effect as well. It's just really, really fun, and I think it's really good. And I think you might want to build your tree out this way. I don't know. I'm just completely experimenting here, but I think Mastermind and Idol of Yasarj might be really good. You saw how long we had Mindbender going right there, and so I think that that's going to be a really good case. Getting that 5% more damage for you and for your Mindbender for like 30 to 40 seconds is kind of ridiculous, right? I think that's a no-brainer. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really good combo right there. This is kind of what I've been looking at for Shadow Priest. This is the build, and I'm really excited for 10.2. This tier set bonus is super fun for Mythic Plus. The single target damage is certainly not going to be as good because you're depending on procs from your Shadow Word Death, right? And you're also waiting for your target to get into execute range. Once you get into execute range, these extra triggers are going to be really, really good. I do think that the upfront damage of that Shadow Word Pain, it was like 125,000 damage with my current gear right here. That's going to be pretty significant in a single target scenario. So it's definitely nothing to scoff at, but I do think that this is going to be much better in the Mythic Plus environment, primarily because you're going to be getting enemies into that execute range, and when you do, you get to take advantage of Death and Madness, right? If you Shadow Word Death somebody while they're in the 20% execute range, you get to do it again, which is going to trigger your tier set bonus again, right? So that's where I think it's going to be most powerful. We'll have to see how it kind of works out in the raid. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Shadow Priest moving into 10.2. Are you excited about this tier set bonus? Are you as excited as I am? Because I'm really excited about this. I love that we're moving away from some of the shadowy apparition stuff, sitting on Idol of Yogg-Sothoth on the entire expansion, it feels like. And I don't mind that we're kind of moving towards the left side of the tree here. I think that's kind of cool. So let me know what you guys think in those comments down below. I would love to hear from you. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.